There are artists in Northern Manitoba that nobody thinks about. They sit in their basements, their garages, or in their homes, and they quietly practice their arts and crafts from the day they are inspired to do so until the day that they die. Sadly, we sometimes don't get to know their names, see their work, or indulge in their story. There is an emerging art scene in Northern Manitoba. There are artists in Northern Manitoba. This documentary is our attempt to find these artists and hear their stories. It is time for the world to listen. If you don't know the towns, the cities, and the reservations that connect the North, you should come and see it. The people are warm, their laughter is contagious, and their culture is curious. You may be inspired. You may want more. You may wonder why you've never heard of the artists of the North. My name is Andrea Stevens, and I'm co-founder of Mall of the Arts here in Thompson, Manitoba. Mall of the Arts was founded when me and my partner, Shorty, noticed an abandoned building in an industrial area of Thompson. The building inspired us to write a business plan that would feature an art center with an artisan market, a culture cafe, a family theater, and a makerspace of some kind. We still have yet to acquire this building, but the community needed something regardless. During the pandemic of 2020, Mall of the Arts began hosting online workshops. They started in partnership with Flin Flon Arts Council and Manitoba Theatre for Young People. These workshops led us to begin meeting and creating artists in the community. And as the artists were sharing their gifts, sometimes participants were learning that these skills that were being passed on were already embedded in the fabric of their being. We began to shift our focus off of the building and onto the artists and find other ways that they could share their gifts. Now, we have developed a great relationship with the downtown main city center mall of the community, City Center Mall, and once a month, artists of the North come and share their gifts and showcase their many talents. Creative Manitoba asked me if I would like to mentor some folks in the community under 28. I didn't know how to be a mentor, so I thought, why don't I post some ads online and see who wants to be a part of this? I thought what I can do is suggest some online programs for artists, and I gave them some art and supplies and helped them to start writing their biographies and building their artist portfolio. They could get their pictures taken, and we could start helping them to build some kind of an artist portfolio. This documentary will give you a glimpse of some of the artists that live in Northern Manitoba. I met Jordy Poker online and had several meetings with Jordy, who is shy and I think cautious about letting his true art and wonderful artisan shine.
Well, I enjoy doing art because it's something that I've always done. And it's always been a hobby, and I just had fun doing it. My name is Jordy Poker. I'm from North House, and I am a sketch artist. School was pretty fun. I really enjoyed it. Any subject is, well, if I kind of zoned out, I would just do it all on the side. I would wake up pretty early just so I can enjoy the internet by myself and either look for like videos and video games, anything to just pass the time until I go to work. And when I'm done, I would either, if I started art, I would come back to it and work on it some more until I get tired. One of the earliest memories I had, I would go visit my brother's room, and he would be just drawing something or listening to music, and I would obviously go and spend some time with him and draw with him. What I learned was it's based on expression. It's a way to express yourself. There are so many things that I want to do with art. What I would like to do in the future with art is just start my own graphic design and animations and stories that I can tell through illustration and create my own original characters and like design t-shirts and all that kind of stuff. My favorite part of my community is that every year we have these treaty and York Boat Days during the first week of August, and there's a variety of events and opportunities for like dancers and singers and anyone to just come out from other communities and spend a week there. And that's pretty fun for like reunions and stuff. My biggest dream in art is to be an artist for the people that I've always looked up to. My favorite singers and actors and filmmakers and graphic designers. Well, there's one of my inspirations was, he's a variety of like music and art. There's actually multiple people in his band that he's an artist. His name is Mike Shinoda, and you see him doing a lot of like painting, and he actually has been doing some streams where he'll design like computer art. Like he would create art on stream and where all his fans can actually watch and see how he creates stuff.
It is difficult to live in Thompson, Manitoba and not know who Stephen Larocque is. He is definitely someone who is not shy, and he's kind of an advocate for entrepreneurs. He has been someone who I've never had to ask if he's willing to support an art initiative. He's a culinary artist who harvests honey, naturally flavored honey, and his stuff is good, really, really good.
My father and me had bees up here to see if it was even feasible to produce honey up here in the north. Hello, I'm Stephen Larocque with our company here, Arctic Gold Honey. You can see our hives up here. We're from Thompson, Manitoba, north of the 55, and we produce a very unique raw wildflower honey from up in northern Manitoba. Here you always want to hold this so it goes into your glove, because they sure love to climb on your wrist. What we're going to do here is we're just going to take out a frame. We're just going to move the bees around here a little bit so that we don't squish any. So you can see that they're just been bringing in pollen. So far all this orange stuff is pollen. What kind of makes our product special is that, you know, a lot of the hives that we have are put out into the boreal forest, which is chemical and a pesticide-free area. But we also have our starter hives in areas where there has been a lot of good work done by some of our partnerships, like Ballet here in Thompson, so that we are actually able to expand our operation based on the good work that they've done to actually create more bee pasture for our bees. This here honey is going to be used just to feed this brood. Like, here's a few drone cells, it's called. And there's some honey on that side that they've already capped. You know, the first challenge that we face, of course, are bears. And you can see with these here trailers, we've had to put all of the hives in our trailers in order to protect the bees from the bears. Now, the bears live here, so we believe, you know, strongly in working, you know, with nature. And one of the biggest things with a bear is just to deter them. The other challenge up here is we have such a short season, so we have to be up and ready and running as soon as possible, and go every day. It's a 16-hour day until fall. Up here in the boreal forest, it's still you know, a untouched prestige area, and The other big thing is that because of the flowers that grow up here, we've been told that this was a true taste of Northern Manitoba by trying our honey and our honey, kind of products. I got that kind of entrepreneurial spirit where, people will say, well, you can't do that there, or you can't do this, or you can't do that. Well, you don't know unless that you don't try. All we do is we just close the door, the lock on there, and let them do their job.
You know, Shorty has always been very good at telling his story.
My pieces are very personalized. So especially the sentimental pieces, obviously they're attached to memories and you have to take into account and respect that. But at the end of that, the reward is massive. Hello, my name is Shorty, owner and operator of Shorty's Upcycling Studio here in Thompson, Manitoba. Here at Shorty's Upcycling, we took the original 3 R's of recycling, which are reduce, reuse, recycle, and we have our own version of them. Reimagine, redesign, and reinvent. It just helps us to think of things in a different way as opposed to throwing them and discarding them. We try to reimagine them, picture it as something else, picture it being used in a different way, redesign it, design in a way that it's functional and useful, or aesthetically pleasing, and then just reinvent it, completely redo it the way we want it to fit that person's lifestyle or needs or their tastes, and make it a functional piece again. I do metal objects as well as wood, welding, fabrication, and carpentry. My business model basically comes from a need in my life. I myself am kind of an upcycled piece, if you will. I had some health issues come up. I was a Class A mechanic for 16 years, and I had some health issues that came up that I was unable to continue doing that. And I found myself sitting on my couch looking at my kids, trying to figure out how I was supposed to provide for them. And I suffered some mental health issues, some depression and things of that nature because of this situation. And I had to find a way to pull myself out of that and look after my family. So I had to take my barrier and reinvent myself in a way that was functional and useful for my situation. And so I started the business. I didn't have any money to start the business. I had to utilize what I had at hand. And so that's where this whole thing started from. I started taking scrap pieces of whatever I could find and make marketable pieces that I was able to sell to other people. And at the same time, I found that process was therapeutic. And it helped me find a way to engage my mind in a healthy manner. One of the great things about living in Thompson is the availability of raw material. Thompson is kind of an end-of-the-road community as far as shipping goes. We don't produce and ship a lot of things out of Thompson. As far as like manufacturing goes, we basically mine here. So we get a lot of stuff shipped up here. And out of that, there's a lot of waste produced that is cost prohibitive to ship away. So I've been very fortunate to have a lot of businesses around town that support my business by allowing me free access to their waste materials and their waste pile. And some of this stuff is just like a creative mind's gold mine. Like you can find unbelievable things here. A lot of times we look and dwell on the limitations and the blockades in our life, and we're so focused on that we can't see around that limitation and see that there may be pointing you towards an opportunity or a way to enrich your life in a direction you never thought to look. So if you're a person with a disability or a limitation, an artist, an entrepreneur, don't be scared to take that step. It's not going to be easy, but upcycling for me, I never had a financial backer to start this. I was sick, laid off work. I didn't have any money to start my business, but I was able to take things that were just laying around that people had discarded and make that into a business. And a lot of it was just for my own therapy. So don't be afraid to take that first step. I can do both manufacturing of products as well as workshops. With what I do, I really would like to teach other people how to do upcycling. I would like to see kids, youth that are struggling, take some of the skills that I could teach, or even the mindset. Sometimes a lot of the upcycling is a mindset where if you can take and look at an object and imagine it being used for something else, or envision it built in a different way, or repurposed in a different way.
I met Joseph Etseyebi in 2021 when I was looking for some art history for Black History Month. I was intrigued by Joseph's calm intellect, and he didn't consider himself an artist. But after we ran his workshop about the Yoruba talking drum, I realized that he is also an important mentor of our community.
I still want to keep doing what I'm doing, but I still want to popularize the African drumming school, something, or workshop around here. I want people to learn to drum. I want people to come to appreciate that since Canada has become such a melting pot for lots of people, such a diverse culture, I want to also put a stamp there to say, hey, there is something here that you guys can enjoy. My name is Joseph Toyebi. I am a university professor here in the PAR Manitoba. I am an associate professor. I teach linguistics. I teach English writing, academic research and writing. I have been in this town of the PAR now for the past 5 years. I am originally from Nigeria. Nigeria is located in West Africa. I am also from the Yoruba tribe, at least on my father's side. On my mother's side, I am an Igbo. After I left, I concluded my doctorate studies in Germany and then immigrated like many other Canadians have done over the years. And first initially I settled down in a city called Windsor in Ontario. And my wife went to nursing school there, and after she graduated, we decided that we might look for jobs in a better place, or where the jobs are, go to where the jobs are. And so we ended up moving to Manitoba, to a city called Thompson in Northern Manitoba in 2015. And since then, we had moved again to come to the PAR, where my wife still works at the hospital as a registered nurse, and I do my job at the university. So today I want to introduce you to these drums. First, I have the mother drum here. This is called the mother drum, or Iyailu in the Yoruba culture. And it can also talk like the daughter drum. It's the mother. It's big, and you see the circumference here is wider than the one that I'm going to show you next. It's the mother drum. These drums are used for celebratory purpose. For instance, greeting the king, raising up the king in the morning, worshiping the king, talking about praising the king. And you find them also at weddings and such important functions. The Yorubas are always with a drum like this, the mother drum. And also we have the daughter drum. I have two of them here actually, and I'll just pick up one of them and talk about it. So this is the talking drum. This is the gong gong. It comes, this is kind of like named. That's where the original name comes from, and others follow. This is the daughter drum that does most of the talking, you know. So you can manipulate these strings here to derive the kind of tone that you intend to have. And so that's a daughter drum, and I have two of them in my collection. And the tones that these drums make they also mimic the Yoruba language, the low tone, the mid tone, the high tone, that the do, re, mi, which are the first three notes that you play in music. The third drum, these drums actually, the mother drum, the daughter drums, you beat them with these beaters. See, it's a curved stick, I think made out of a willow stick or something. I have another drum called the djembe. This is widespread from Africa and Latin America. People play the djembe a lot. This particular one, I got it from Ghana. The Ghanaians are known very well for this drum, and I like it a lot because of the tones that I can derive from it. I got the big bass type where I can get the bass beat from somewhere close to the middle or center of the drum, and I can get a high-pitched sound on the edge. So it makes the drum a robust instrument, an all-round percussion instrument that any musician would be happy to have on their ensemble of musical instruments. So I can teach people in my culture, I can teach them about what I do, especially with these drums, to let them understand that it's a beautiful thing to appreciate the culture that we've been blessed with, to celebrate our culture. The Yoruba people who came up with these talking drums, they had never seen the four walls of a Western school. Or how did they know the first three notes on the musical scale? How did they know? It shows that we are, as humans, we all have the same spirit. We're all the same thing. The same writers, Mozart and Bach, all of them writing musical scales in those ancient times, and whoever, and the Yorubas too. Everyone is developing and inventing instruments based on paths had never crossed in that sense. So I like talking to my people about this, to not think of the Western culture or education as tied only to the Western culture or ideology. No, there is education too in our individual cultures. There are ways that we learn to appreciate that, understand that, love that, especially for we Africans who are today resident in Canada. We should not throw away all that we knew from home, because of the colonization where the Western ideology seemed to be stronger than any other. No, it actually is part of what makes us a collective human a community where we all come with all our diverse cultures and meld them into one, and everyone learns to appreciate that. So I'm saying to my people in my culture, learn to appreciate these things and share it with the world out there. And to the people outside of my culture, I'm also trying to let them know that, yes, you can. I know it may look exotic to you, but it's exotic because you think of it as exotic. It's actually not exotic. It's something that you can really look at, and it's still part of the human experience. Come and learn. That's why I had given a public workshop on the talking drum in the past, celebrating Black History Month, and I gave a whole month of lecture trying to tell people that, hey, music did not only got developed in the West, even somewhere in a remote corner of Africa, people already understand the basics of music, and it's natural, and we all should come and embrace that. The big thing that surprised people enough, that every time I play the talking drum, is they would say, really? How do you derive those tones? Because the talking drum, the Yoruba talking drum, is not a monotone instrument like most drums. Most other cultures have drums that are just monotone. This one is a monotone. No matter how much you do, you can only get one tone from it. It can tell you something else. But when you take the Yoruba talking drum, these lines, these strings here, I look at them as the keys on the piano, because the more you as well as you manipulate it, you derive different tones. The Yoruba talking drum it's not just like this one tone. All right, so this is one tone, and I can begin to do this. You see how it's beginning to change. You can run it all the way to the top. Some people would usually ask me, one common question that they ask me every time I give a drumming workshop is, so when did you start learning? When did you learn to drum? When did you? I would always go back to my age of 9. But then it actually went far beyond that. I was born into a family of drummers. We were drummers in my household, my family. So I was born into that family. But of all my father's children, I am, apart from my elder brother who played some of this monotone sounding drum, I would say that I'm the one that really took up this culture, because I guess maybe part of my training in linguistics and all that. So at the age of 9, I started drumming. I started little by little, and I kept going, and I kept. The more I studied my culture, the more I fell more in love with it. As an immigrant in Canada, who have over the years now become a Canadian citizen, but the point also remains that there is always this transition. You live in what you were born into, a place, an environment into which you were born, then coming to a place like this. For instance, I was born and raised in the tropics. Like I always say to people who listen, I said, it's summer all year round, you know? Yeah, of course, we have our Harmattan period, especially if you go up north to northern Nigeria. You have the Harmattan that feels a little bit cold, but dry wind coming from the Sahara Desert. But it's still nothing compared to what we have here, you know? But I guess the part of the whole experience for me, I guess, was I had some form of an acclimatization or introduction to a temperate climate during my 4 years in Germany. And then from there, when I moved to Canada, it was just like not so much of a difference. However, when I moved to Northern Manitoba, it was truly cold. Drumming, rhythm, it helps. It's good for exercise. It helps the body, helps people to move, helps people to just for one moment shut out the world outside and just reflect on their personality. Drumming does that. Beautiful rhythm. And I want to do that more for people. Get around, socialize, enjoy music.
We met Tristan when we first started filming the documentary. I had seen his digital artwork online and was intrigued. It was almost surreal that we had a digital artist in Thompson. I invited him out to our photo shoot, and when he walked in all dressed in black, he had this shy but mysterious, super cool swag about him. And it was this attitude that had all our eyes drawn to him as an artist.
When I wake up in the morning, I usually just start off with a cup of coffee, and then I get to drawing right away. And then that takes me throughout most of my day of my free time, and by the end of the day, I'm just finishing up my drawings. My name is Tristan Okimakinak, and I live in Thompson, Manitoba, and I'm a digital artist. What I like about Thompson is that there's more opportunities for jobs, for supplies. Like if you want to start something, you could just easily go to the store and buy what you need. Or like if you want to do sewing, there's one in town. There's options. That's what I like about it. One artist online that I was inspired by was Gooseworks. They do animations, they do character art, they do all that, and just really their animations is what really got me into doing digital art. It's what pushed me. Well, for digital art, the starting is just as anything. You just draw a sketch out first, and then you could leave that sketch and add a new layer and do your line art there. You just work with so many layers with digital art. You can mix and match, you can go back and adjust without having to mess with so much of the drawing itself. You can go back and fix a piece of line art without ruining the color. You can go back and do some more shading without touching any of the line art. That's, for me, is the great thing about digital art. My satisfaction with digital art is that it's just far more easier to work with. It's easier than just making a mistake on paper where you can just easily fix it, adjust it. There's so many more options to that. And just shading, coloring, all that, all the options are there. You don't have to find any specific pencils, papers. It's all there for you to do. And it's just beautiful. I like it. The first time I tried anything artistic was just like almost everybody starting in school with just a simple pencil and paper. And then sort of went from there, just had a deep interest in it. The surprising thing about doing what I do is that there's just a whole lot of options you have with coloring, shading, and all that. There's so many new things that you can't do on pencil and paper. The programs that I use is Clip Studio Paint, and how I came across that was just asking friends online what do they prefer. Well, with my art, I would like to, in the future, I would like to take my goals to do animations and making my own animated series or possibly a comic book series. The barrier for me of getting my artwork out is that there's not a lot of outlets, and that's why I joined Mall of the Arts, so that way my art can get out there and seen.
Amanda grieves. Daughter, mother, grandmother, friend, mentor. She wears so many hats and yet continues to have a light heart. Her smile is so beautiful and her eyes light up when she talks about the work she's done in the community. If you get to know Amanda, you'll realize that she, simply put, is a pillar of strength in our community. Because it's not just the history and beauty of dressmaking that she adores, but it's more the impact of confidence that she leaves behind every time she helps to change a sister or a brother's life.
The first time I was inspired to make a skirt was when my daughter asked me for a skirt. I was gifted a sewing machine, and I didn't know how to work a sewing machine. It just came very naturally. I connected with that sewing machine and whatever fabric I had, and I made. Because I remember when the first time I made a ribbon skirt was by hand, and I went to a ceremony out at mile 20, and I met an elder who told me that she saw me making beautiful skirts someday, and I did. And you know, that moment when I first made my daughter's skirt, I remembered the elder. I remembered her words, yeah. My name is Amanda Greaves Bradburn. I grew up in Oxford House. I was born and raised in Oxford House, and I have to say that I was blessed with two beautiful parents, and I was raised in a loving home with 11 of my siblings. I live in Thompson. I've lived here for a few years, and I am a dressmaker. I'm a stay-at-home mom right now. Before I was in the mental health addictions field, in the social work field. I worked with the homeless. Before I was working with as a psychosocial rehabilitation worker, I was a secretary in Oxford House. I've seen so many talented Indigenous artists, and what I enjoyed when I was working with them was I helped them bring out their creativity, you know, their creative side, and to help them find their own gifts. That was probably one of the most enjoyable moments that I had with them. I would say that Northern Manitoba is a beautiful country. It's a beautiful place to be. You see, you know, the nature and the people, they're very friendly. Yeah. And there's a lot of talented people I would like to see, I hope to see my future doing workshops and working with the youth of Thompson or the North in mindfulness workshops through ribbon skirts. And hopefully with young boys, try ribbon shirts and teach them the 7 sacred teachings that, that weren't taught to them at an early age. That would mean part of doing my part with reconciliation, to work with the children, to instill that hope that each and every child has.
With monthly events now at this Thompson's City Centre Mall, Blueberry Jam Festival in Flin Flon is back after a long pandemic, and the Juried Art Show resurfacing in the PA and many northern communities. The Northern Manitoba's voice, if you will, is beginning to whisper. We are here. Our confidence is rising, and we are starting to stand together. Although each city and its outlying communities might differ slightly in their idiosyncrasies, there is a common ground that we all share as long as we reside on this land, this north of 55, Treaty 5 territory. And that is that we are the artists of the North.
We are artists of Northern Manitoba.
I am Tristan and we are artists of the North.
Hi, my name is Brandt, and I am an artist of the North.
My name is Shorty, and I'm an artist of the North.